Welcome into Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here with some Week 3 overreaction / takeaways we're going to run through. Now, I got to clear the air a little bit here because I think the elephant in the room is pretty big at this moment. As you guys have let me know in the comment section, did not appreciate my post-game show on Sunday. Had a little bit of fun at Mariota's expense. I apologize. I'm sorry. Did not mean to ruffle so many of the feathers of the dirty birds, but I want to start the clean slate here, so let's jump into some overreaction / takeaways, kind of a hodgepodge of both of that, following the Falcons' Week 3 victory over the Seahawks. So, takeaway number 1, Cordarrelle Patterson is him. Indeed he is. Year in and year out, people want to doubt Patterson, and for good reason. Before he came to Atlanta, he never really had a bit of a rhythm, had some good games and moments with the Bears before coming to Atlanta, but the guy has just been, frankly, awesome for the Falcons so far this season, and he looked even better somehow even this past week against Seattle. Going off for 141 yards, 1 touchdown on 17 carries with a crisp and beautiful average of 8.3 yards per carry. Cordarrelle Patterson, he's RB1. I mean, I'm not just talking about fantasy football here. For a running back room that has been, I want to go with the word unknown for the last 2 seasons. No one really knew what they were going to get in Patterson last year. And then going into this season, I think there were a good amount of doubters out there of, yeah, that was kind of a one-hit wonder. No way he can repeat that performance, especially as Father Time catches up to him this season. I don't know, Jim. Patterson's been awesome so far. And for a Falcons offense that may not be cracking ESPN top 10 plays, they have put up some great plays. And in fact, it kind of starts with his offensive line. Now, they have to improve and they have to be better in pass protection, right? But in terms of what they're doing on the ground game, the Cleveland Browns are going to have a tough matchup, especially if Jadeveon Clowney is a no-go, and Myles Garrett, in case you missed it, was in a car accident earlier today. So that's a story to monitor for sure in his Week 4 status against the Falcons. But the Atlanta Moving Company has been moving people for Patterson, and it's been a fun sight for Falcons fans to see. All right, want to throw this question your way. Who was your Falcons MVP in Week 3? Might be one of the 2 guys we are about to talk about on today's show. But let me know in the comments who your MVP was from Lumen Field in Week 3. All right, takeaway number 2. Drake London and Kyle Pitts are a duo. Yes, they are indeed. In fact, first off, Drake London is the front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year. The Falcons made a great selection in the former USC Trojan, and sure, a preseason knee injury was a bit unsettling, but that seems to be completely in the rearview mirror. He scored his 2nd touchdown of the season on Sunday, caught 3 grabs for 54 yards, and like I talked about in the postgame show, the touchdown he had against Seattle, it was nice to see where it wasn't just a nice slant and he was open in the front of the end zone. No, he fought his way for the goal line, and Drake London is going to form a fantastic duo, not only with Kyle Pitts, but let's not forget about Calvin Ridley, right? What a weapon group this is going to be when it is Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Calvin Ridley for whoever the quarterback is next season. If you want to go the free agency route, Atlanta will be quite attractive with the way Pitts and London are playing and getting Ridley back. That's going to be an awesome sight to see. And so a lot's going to happen here in terms of what will be the Falcons offense when Calvin Ridley returns from the suspension. It's going to be one of the best trios in football in terms of top 2 receivers and a unicorn tight end in Kyle Pitts here. Because something that's kind of getting forgotten is Calvin Ridley, he didn't retire, right? He's coming back next season, knock on wood. And when he's at the top of his game, he's one of the best receivers in football. Back in 2020, when he played a full season, 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns. His rookie season, 10 touchdowns with Julio Jones still at the top of his game. This trio, if you're a Falcons fan, you have got to be excited about. And this year is all about seeing Kyle Pitts be a top 5 tight end and Drake London being a surefire first-round pick and one of the best, if not the best, rookie wide receiver thus far. So let's pump some positive energy into the air right now. What is your excitement level for this receiving trio? Scale 1 to 100. I don't see how you can be below a 60 at this point, right? I know it's early, but Drake London, he's awesome. And Kyle Pitts, he's also awesome. All right, we're going to get to more takeaways in just a second. But first, BetUS. If you want to put your money where your mouth is and you want to put some cheddar down on the Dirty Birds going into Week 4 against the Cleveland Browns, make your picks right now at chatsports.com/betfalcons. Use promo code Falcons125. Here's what I'll say. Falcons right now, a pick 'em. The Browns might be a trap game. Might overlook Atlanta a little bit. And this Falcons offense has not had an issue with scoring points. More so on the defense, trying to keep this offense alive here. All right, takeaway number 3. Grady Jarrett dominated this game. He came up with a huge play in the final minutes of the game to help seal the victory, and Grady Jarrett continues to be one of the best players on this Falcons defense here, okay? In terms of what he's been able to do, or just looking back at this past Sunday, 5 tackles, a sack, 3 tackles for loss, and 10 yards lost on a sack. Grady Jarrett is one of the best interior defensive linemen, and Falcons aren't going to play a ton of primetime games, and that might get lost on people, but I think Falcons fans know they've got something special in Grady Jarrett and A.J. Terrell, hopefully, and Arnold Ebiketie you can toss into that mix as he's in his rookie season, forming some cornerstones of this Falcons defense for the next couple of seasons. Overall, on the season, Grady Jarrett, 11 tackles, 2.5 sacks. When you're an interior defensive lineman, job number 1 is to stop the run. If you can get after the quarterback, that's gravy, right? That's why Aaron Donalds don't grow on trees. But for Jarrett to already be at 2.5 sacks, that's what you want to see. File that under things you love to see. All right, more guys to talk about here. Richie Grant, the safety, had an interception against the Seahawks. I've been impressed with Grant so far, just through 3 games, but this Falcons secondary outside of Terrell doesn't feature a ton of household names, but you got guys grinding. You got guys playing hard for Arthur Smith, and Richie Grant, I thought, had a good game against the Seahawks, coming up with a pick and 2 pass breakups. All right, next takeaway here. This one might be a bit of an overreaction. The NFC South is not out of play. It's early. In fact, producer Trace right now is our Saints Now host here and producer at Chat Sports. And his New Orleans Saints are towards the cellar at 1-2. It's still early, a lot of football left. But do I think the Falcons have a legitimate shot of winning the NFC South? Probably not. But I can say this much. Every single season, you see a team go from worst to first. Falcons, Panthers, in that running in terms of teams that finish towards the bottom of the standings the previous season and maybe catch on fire and go on a bit of a run. Every NFL season, there is a Cinderella team, someone that no one thought was going to be a legitimate playoff contender, and there they go. This year, I'm kind of liking the Jags. Trevor Lawrence is a very good quarterback. He was ruined by Urban Meyer for a couple of weeks. Now we're talking Jags here on the Falcons today. But I wouldn't rule out the Falcons here. Look at the numbers. They are 9th in the NFL in terms of points per game at 26.7. Okay? 26 in defensive points allowed, giving up nearly 4 touchdowns. That is not ideal. But 28th in giveaways at 7. That's going to lead us into our next point here. The offense has been dynamic so far. The defense needs work. But the way you can look at this is through 3 games, the Falcons have been in all 3 games. Had to hold on to the win against the Saints. Showed some life. Showed some dogs. Showed some fight in them. Week 2 at the Rams, coming back from 25-point deficit. And then week 3, knocking off the Seahawks on the road. A win is a win. Don't care who you are in the NFL, especially if you can get it done on the road. So what I want to ask you guys now is, do the Falcons have a shot in the NFC South? Like getting ahead of my skis a little bit here after just the first win of the season. The Bucs don't look like the Bucs The Panthers have the worst quarterback in football right now with Baker Mayfield. And the Saints are dealing with injuries. What's new? And the Saints are the good Saints, So go Falcons. All right, here we go. Next takeaway. Final takeaway. Marcus Mariota must stop turning it over. It's easy to say that as an overweight YouTuber, but it needs to translate to Flowery Branch, right? You need to see Marcus Mariota be better with the football here. Against the Seahawks, he had an interception. The fumble with the miscommunication between his running back as to what he wanted to do on the option. Listen, if you're going to pull it back, you've got to pull it back. You got to be decisive, and you got to have strong hands, right? And in that moment, Mariota, fourth quarter, bad time for a turnover, especially as your offense is moving down the field here. So with that, it is figure it out time, right? There is everyone breathing down Mariota's neck to see Desmond Ridder's take the field. An easy way to let a rookie quarterback take your job is turn the football over. You have got to make it impossible for Arthur Smith to want to bench you. And an easy way to get benched is if you keep turning the football over. 3 interceptions, 2 fumbles, 5 total fumbles so far. It's unacceptable. Got to be better. All right. Before we send you guys on your way to enjoy Taco Mac, whatever wings you're getting, whatever you're doing down in ATL, one last question to ask here. Predict the Falcons' 2022 record for me. 1-2 after 3 games. I hate to say it. It's like a fifth of the way into the season. That's too early. Week 4 is usually the quarter mark, but an extra game added, so it's a little bit less than that. So let me know. Predict the Falcons' 2022 record. And hey, I'm not going to call it an absolute guarantee, but sub for dubs. Keep the winning streak going. Rise up, Falcons fans. Hit that big red button. Subscribe. And hopefully this can start some momentum and a little bit of trickle-down effect all the way to the Falcons front office, onto the field, and into the win column.